Ukraine has launched missile drills near Russia's border, with which Kiev is at loggerheads over a range of issues. The military exercises involve air defense units, military drones, and S-300 ground-to-air missile systems. Ukrainian officials say the two-day military drills are going ahead as planned and in line with international law. Russia has condemned the military exercises. The Kremlin says the maneuvers violate its maritime borders. Moscow has also threatened to shoot down the missiles if they threaten its territory. Relations between the two countries have been strained since the crisis began in eastern Ukraine in 2014. The relations worsened further after Crimea rejoined Russia following a referendum in 2014. Well, to discuss that further, I'm joined by Dr. Marcus Papadopoulos, who is the editor of Politics First, and he's joining us live now from the British capital. Sir, thanks for joining us here on Press TV. Is this innocent? Are these missile drills innocent?
No, I certainly don't think they are. No manoeuvres involving the live firing of missiles can be categorized as innocent. I think this is a potentially very dangerous situation, and I sincerely hope that the Ukrainian government will see sense and will reconsider pursuing what is a very, very dangerous approach to the Russian Federation. Because with the firing of live missiles into Russian airspace, that could potentially threaten commercial airliners, which means potentially bringing down commercial airliners, resulting in the deaths of civilians. And so with that in mind, I really do believe that if the Ukrainian government is serious about not wanting to provoke Russia, then it will see sense and that it would put an end to these maneuvers. However, I suspect the Ukrainian government is trying to provoke, trying to goad Russia in order to gain more sympathy, more respect and more support from the West. And also Kiev is well aware that within a few weeks' time there will be a new American administration. And so I think the Ukrainians are trying to keep the issue firmly on the radar of Washington. And if the Russian military were to respond to these Ukrainian maneuvers, which they have every right to do if they impede Russian airspace and Russian maritime waters, then the Ukrainians could simply say to Donald Trump when he's president, or even now president-elect, that Ukraine, which is in quotation marks, an innocent, democratic, peace-loving country, is being threatened by Russia and needs American support.
Okay, so then let's look at the possible Russian reaction, if we may, because we've had NATO expansionism for many years. We've had the missiles placed close to Russian borders in several countries surrounding Russia. Now we have Ukraine acting in this provocative manner. Russia's reacted, though, fairly calmly to all of the above, hasn't it? In the sense it hasn't reacted maybe in the manner that they have hoped that it would react. So should we expect such a Russian calm demeanor going forward as well?
Well, you're absolutely right. Russia has been unbelievably, extraordinarily tolerant of the threat to its national security. Just have a look at a map of modern-day Europe, in Eastern Europe, and you will see on Russia's border, it is littered with NATO member states, and of course there is an American missile defense system, which is now active in Romania and in Poland. Now, we all know how the Americans responded in 1962 when the Russians placed ICBMs in Cuba. So Russia must be lauded for the way it's gone about not reacting in an aggressive way to its threat to its national security. That said, however, if the Ukrainian military does fire missiles into Russian airspace, for example, into the Crimea, or if they fire missiles into Russian maritime waters, then of course the Russian air defense systems will have every right under international law to shoot those missiles down. And should a Russian commercial airliner, for example, be struck by a Ukrainian missile, or if a Russian vessel operating in Russian maritime waters is to be struck and there are casualties in both scenario, then the Ukrainian government would be responsible, and Russia would have every right, legally and morally, to take decisive and clinical action against the Ukrainian government.
Very well. We'll leave it there at that point, Dr. Papadopoulos. But of course, as always, we do appreciate you taking your time out to speak to us here at Press TV.